Testing, testing, 1, 2. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to UFRL Tier 4 Racing, where tonight we head off to the United States of America. We've only got 12 races tonight, I believe, so we will only be doing a short qualifying stint, as there's not really much point in doing the full qualifying section, as we'd have to retire too many people during the first parts of qualifying. Just before we start the qualifying, I will quickly run through the current Tier 4 standings. Okay, so in first place currently we have the Ferrari of Shudson. In second place we have Mrs. Poem in the Alfa Romeo. In third place, Dee Friend in the Alfa Tauri. In fourth place, John Ramble in the Aston Martin. In fifth place, and he's actually won the 2 races he's actually competed in so far, is 50 Gent, and I'm a strong believer that he will win again today in the other Alfa Romeo. So the Alfa Romeo is having a really good, strong start to the season. And in 6th place, we have Slater in the Red Bull. In 7th place, Canucks fan in the Alpine. In 8th place, Hockey Iceman in the Red Bull. In 9th place, in the Williams, we have Wizard Arrow. And rounding out the top 10, we have Brett in the Aston Martin. Now, I'm pretty sure there has been a few safety cars things this week during the course of Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3. I'm not expecting too many people to go out tonight, though, only because there is just 12 drivers racing this evening. But as I said, my favourite for today is going to have to be 50 Gent again. He's been incredibly good in the 2 races he's been in. He won comfortably last time out in France. So I'm expecting much of the same today. Just get all these bits and pieces set up. There we go. Full track map. Lap data enabled. Telemetry on there. Looks as if Fido Jr. may start out on the mediums, which is surprising. I'm sure he'll change that at some point, I would imagine. So we'll start with Nick 1988M in the Alpine. He's the first driver out on track currently. Bully Nation is also out in the Alfa Tauri. Bretty Boy, who I think's got a good chance of winning today, but I think he's gonna have to hope that something happens to 50 Gent. I think the other person in the running will probably be Mrs. Poem as well in the other Alfa Romeo. I think it's going to be very difficult to beat those 2 today. So a lot of people trying to get out early, trying to set a few laps beforehand. Yeah, Fido Jr. on the mediums currently, which is surprising. He's feeling quite confident. I think Dan MW is also on the mediums. He is, did not realise that. Nick will be the first person to cross the line to start his flying lap today. Let's see what he can produce out on track. He's on a set of softs. Yeah, not a great first turn there. He certainly overshot that. He wants to be braking a little bit earlier there to again successfully complete the corner. Nicely done. Probably one of the hardest parts of this racetrack. Pressure's on, Nick. We are watching you, so let's keep it clean. Set a lap, and then maybe go again afterwards. Go and maybe change onto a set of softs, another set of softs. Your ERS will obviously be quite low. Canucks fan also on his flying lap. He's just going through the harsh section of Sector 1. It's probably the hardest part of the track. He seems to have successfully navigated his way around that. AlphaTauri running very, very fast. It sounds a little bit strange on this game, though. I'm not quite sure why. But we'll go back to Nick, who is the furthest. Oh, actually, no, is it Nick? Yeah, it is. I'm pretty sure it is Nick who is the furthest along the race track. I think it's a Red Bull coming now, but yeah, it's just only just started his flying lap. Let's see what Nick can do here. And Nick is going to cross the line with a 1:41.592 in the Alpine. Let's ride on board with Shudson. Bully Nation a 1:38.7. He absolutely smashes Nick's time out of the park. And Wizard Arrow does exactly the same. He goes a 1, and again, then Slater going the fastest with a 1:36.8. Shudson moving himself up into third place with a 1:37.7. So at the moment, and now Canucks fan with a 1:36.6 in the Alpine in provisional P1. Slater in the Williams is currently second. Oh, sorry, Slater in the Red Bull is currently second. Sorry, apologies, I was on Wizard Arrow there. Let's go down to Hockey Iceman in the other Red Bull. Let's see if he can get as high up the league, well, the table, as high up the grid, sorry, as Slater. It was quite wide through that corner. Pretty sure I tend to cut that a little bit more, but nevertheless, let's see what sort of lap time Hockey Iceman can produce in the sister Red Bull. Let's be pushing it, try and get up as high up there as he can alongside his teammate Slater. Should be hoping to get some good points on the table. And it's a great lap time by Hockey Iceman. He goes into provisional P1 with a 1:36.2. So 4/10 clear of Canucks fan and over half a second clear of his teammate Slater, who is currently holding provisional P3. 50 gents still yet to come out. I'm expecting a lap time of around a 1:35.5 maybe from him, something along those lines. Mrs. Poem just on her outlap. I'm expecting her to be right up the grid as well. Dan MW on the medium compound tyre. It'll be interesting to see what sort of lap time he can produce on the mediums. Mrs. Poem also going out on the mediums, as did Fido Jr. I expect Fido Jr. to come back out on the softs again soon to set another flying lap. And Dan puts himself up into provisional P6 with a 1:37.9. I think if he can put on those softs, he should be running a little bit quicker as well. It looks as if, yeah, Mrs. Poem has gone back into the pits and presumed to maybe put on a set of softs. We only have a few drivers. Well, we only have 2 drivers out on track at the moment. Wizard Arrow being one of them. I suspect he will probably just go straight back into the pits following his flying lap. I have just loaded up Twitch onto my phone now, so if anyone has any questions, please fire away. Yeah, Wizard Arrow definitely going to go, surely going to dive into the pits here. Yeah, definitely diving into the pits. I think he's made the correct call. pretty sure Dan MW will probably do the same, I would think. Or is he going to try and set another lap? He's going to try and set another lap. He has got 10. We have got 10 minutes left, of course, so I don't think he's going to improve. I don't think he improved. No, he did a little bit. Yeah, 137.7. I think it's about time to stick on the softs now. It looks as if Mrs. Poem has actually retired. Not too sure what's going on there. We'll ride on board with Bretty Boy, who I'm guessing is on his out lap. He hasn't used any of his ERS or anything like that in the Aston Martin. I suspect we'll see him pushing that to the very limit in a second. Let's go over to Fido Jr., who's also, I think, probably on his out lap, but using all of his ERS. I'm not quite sure that's what you want to be doing there, Fido. Judson currently on an outlap as well. Dan MW, I'm pretty sure, will be coming into the pits. Still yet to see 50 Gent out there. I'm guessing he's not back home yet. He was a late joiner in the race due to work commitments. We'll stick with Bretty Boy 7 for the time being. Currently in P12 as he's yet to set a lap time. That will soon change. And 50 Gent will drop down to provisional P11. Chances are he might not get out for a qualifying lap, but I have full belief that he can work his way back up the grid. Mrs. Poem not going to be setting a lap time then. She had a quali ban. Thanks for that, Hockey Iceman. Didn't know that. Actually, I do remember reading that actually, so that does make sense. Yeah, it does make sense now. Hockey Iceman currently with provisional pole and nearly half a second clear of Canucks fan, who's currently holding provisional P2. But let's see what Bretty Boy can see what time he can set now as he crosses the line with a 137.1, and he takes provisional P4 currently for the Aston Martin. Let's go down to Judson then in the Ferrari. Nicely done round that corner. Stick with Judson. He is nearly 0.3 up of his previous best. So I don't think he's going to improve on his best lap time here, unless he has a really good Sector 3. He's used a lot of that ERS. Don't think he's going to improve on it somehow. Let's have a look. It's going to be a 137.8, so he's nearly just 1/10 worse off during that lap. Let's go to Fido Jr. now. He is 0.2 up of his previous best, which I believe he set on the mediums as well, so it is surprising from Fido Jr. I expected better from him in the McLaren, and he dives into the pits. I'm guessing he may have had already nearly crashes out in the pits. Let's go with Bully Nation. Let's see what lap time he can set then. He goes across the finishing line with a 1:38. And he moves himself up into provisional P8. Hockey Iceman back out again in the Red Bull. And 50 Gent is on an outlap, so he will be setting a lap time, which is great news for him. Great news for everyone watching as well. Not such good news for everyone else on the grid. see what Hockey Iceman can do here. Oh, 1:35.8, a magnificent lap time by Hockey Iceman, and he moves himself clear at the moment for provisional P1. Now, I actually put him last week, and I said that he was one of the two favourites to win the race. I think he ended up finishing 10th, which I think was disappointing for him. He's definitely better than that. So he'll be really, really pleased with his current performance. He's a long way ahead of the rest of the competition currently, so well done to him in the Red Bull. It's been a good day so far for the Red Bulls. They're currently holding P1 and P3 currently. Canucks fan, I think, struggling, unless he's on his outlap still. I think he's probably still on his outlap, as he's barely used any ERS. One word of advice to everyone: turn off your ERS on your outlap. Save it for the flying lap. You will lose even tenths of a second. It does make all that difference. Let's have a look at Wizard Arrow then. He's in Sector 3 currently. He is currently holding provisional P6. Let's see if he can improve on his best lap time of 1:37.5. He goes very wide there. I doubt he's going to improve. And he does improve on it. It just shows how much better he could have got. I think he probably would have at least got provisional P3 there if he hadn't have mucked up the final sector of the lap and the final turn. Unlucky there for Wizard Arrow in the Williams. Let's go down to 50 Gent in the Alfa Romeo. Bully Nation has retired from the session. The best he can hope for now is P8. He set a lap time of 1:38. And Wizard Arrow also out as well. The best he can now hope for is a P5. Dan MW sending a great lap time of 1:36.1. Doing really well. He is now in provisional P2. Still a good 0.3 of a second off the current provisional P1 holder, Hockey Iceman. He's still got a fair amount of work to do. I wonder if he'll be able to get another lap in. Let's see what 50 Gent can do here. He is my favourite to win today's Grand Prix. But he's not going to get provisional P1. Oh, 1:36.4 puts him over half a second behind Hockey Iceman in the Red Bull, and over 0.3 of a second down on 50 Gent as well. He is 0.2 of a second clear of Canucks fan, who is currently out on a flying lap, but he's used all his ERS. I very much doubt he's going to be able to improve on his lap time, having used all that ERS, unfortunately, for one half of the Alpine team. Let's go down to Bretty Boy then in the Aston Martin, currently holding P7. Let's see what he can do here. He's currently in Sector 2. See if he's any quicker in just a moment. He used half his ERS so far, so that's a good sign. Yeah, takes that corner quite nicely. Maybe could put his foot down a little bit quicker, but I wonder if he's perhaps running medium or no traction at all. I'm only speaking from the experience of running full traction, as I just end up spinning out everywhere. I'm not sure if Bretty Boy's going to improve here or not. I wouldn't have thought so. No, definitely not going to improve there. He's just under a second slower than his previous best, so he stays in provisional P7. Fido Jr. just set a lap time of a 1:37.6. That surprises me because he did really well on the medium compound tyre, but seems to have struggled on those softs so far. That could be a setup issue for him, perhaps. Dan MW, looks like he's trying again, but he's got the ERS. He had a catch Hockey Iceman for provisional P1. Wonder if we'll see 50 Gent go back out again. I don't know, we definitely won't. 50 Gent, the highest he's going to get will be P3 as things stand. It'll be the same with Canucks fan. The highest he's going to get is P4. Slater is back out in the other Red Bull. but he's over a second slower than his previous best, so I don't think he'll be improving on P5 in the sister Red Bull. Dan MW is pushing, but that lack of ERS I think will probably cost him for Team Haas. He's gonna go into the pits. Yeah, I think he knew that he wasn't going to be able to take pole position off of Hockey Iceman. If anyone else is still out, Bretty Boy is out, but he's nearly 3 seconds slower, so I'm guessing he's not going to be making a lap here. We'll go to Fido Jr., who is quicker in Sector 2. Let's see what he can do here as he crosses the line. Fido Jr. in the McLaren crosses the line with a 137.4 and is in P9. Nick having a bit of a spinning time there in the Alpine. The best the best he can do today is P11. So that's a wrap in qualifying. Great effort by everyone involved. Hockey Iceman, a superb lap from you. And you are on pole position today, and by over 0.3 of a second. An absolutely astonishing lap time from you. 50 Gent done very well to get himself, I think he only had about 5 minutes of qualifying to get P3. Very well done to you. Dan MW in the Haas in P2, a great lap time from him as well. Canucks fan in 4th place in the Alpine, and then wrapping up the top 5. Slater in the Red Bull with a 136.8. Remember, folks, please take that 5-minute break just in case anyone needs to go to the toilet or anything like that. I shall be back in a couple of minutes. And I'm back. So it's good to see that we haven't had anyone push the button to start this Grand Prix. But I'm quite excited about this one. I'm expecting a good battle between the top three. I wouldn't be surprised as well to see Mrs. Poem move her way through the grid. But I still have to go with my original prediction. I do think 50 could see out the win, although Hockey Iceman does seem incredibly fast. He's just got to keep it up. As I said, he was one of my favourites to win last week, but unfortunately didn't have his best race. But I'm pretty sure this week he can certainly bring it home. I do wonder what everyone will start on tyre-wise. I think most people started on the medium compound from when I watched it on Tuesday. Unfortunately, I was unable to watch Tier 3 race last night, but I think most people started on the mediums on Tuesday, which the winner was eventually Swanton Bomb, and I believe he started on the mediums. But I'm not 100% sure. If anyone can clear that up, that would be great. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see what everyone is starting on. Let's have a look. Yes, we've got a bit of a mixed bag here then. So we've got a Hockey Iceman starting on the medium compound, Dan MW and 50 Gent all starting on the mediums. Canucks Fan starting on the softs there. He's the only starting person on the softs. Slater in the sister Red Bull on the hards. So Hockey Iceman and Slater perhaps talking amongst themselves there. Going on different strategies to see which one will work for either of them. Wizard Arrow on the mediums. Bretty Boy on the hards. Shudson, Fido Jr. and Bully Nation on the mediums, with Nick and Mrs. Poem on the hard compound tyre. 28 laps around this track. It's quite a long track. I don't think it's that harsh on the tyres. Maybe sector 1, but I don't think it's overly harsh on the tyres. Not compared to France, which really does grain your tyres. I think this will be slightly different. It looks as if it's just going to be sunny throughout the whole race. A few clouds in the sky, but nothing too major. The drivers will be too worried about any wet weather today. Looking forward to this one though. I'm expecting a really good battle between the top three. Hopefully we get a nice clean start. I'm sure we will, because these drivers in UFRL are vetted and checked before entering the division, so they are some of the better drivers around, and certainly no different with Tier 4. Before we start the race, let's quickly run through the grid again. Hockey Iceman in pole, Dan MW in second, 50 Gent in third, Canucks Fan in fourth, Slater fifth, Wizard Arrow sixth, Bretty Boy seventh, Shudson eighth, Fido Jr. ninth, Bully Nation 10th, Nick 1988 in 11th, and Mrs. Poem, who served out her qualifying ban, starts in P12. I think we'll start with let's start with Slater in P5. See what interesting events we can see off the start. as long as everyone takes the people on the right hand side of the track take a nice wide entrance into turn 1, we should get away nice and cleanly. And it is lights out and away we go in the USA Grand Prix for UFRL Tier 4. It's a great start there by the likes of Bretty Boy and Fido Jr. And we have an accident already into turn 1. Hockey Iceman dropping down to 7th, Dan MW up into 1st place. 50 Gent remaining in 3rd. Do we have a safety car? No, we definitely don't. But Nick, unfortunately for him, is now into P12. He was the person who suffered the most out of turn 1. Let's go down the grid. Let's go to Bretty Boy then, who is just 0.2 of a second down on Canucks Fan. It's quite wide there though in the Aston Martin. Let's see if he can catch him. He's not going to be able to catch him down this straight. Got a cleaner exit. Shudson moving up into P10, overtaking Mrs. Poem. But I think she's going to have another go here on the Ferrari, going down the inside. Their wheels nearly touching, but she has made a clean overtake on Shudson in the Ferrari. A great move by Mrs. Poem, who's also on the hard tyres, we must remember. It's a great start for her. She moves up from P12 to P10 on the opening lap. It was Fido Jr. possibly got the best start though. He's up into P7, I believe he started in P9 or 10, one or the other. And MW setting the fastest lap as he leads through the first lap. And Slater having to go into the pits on the Red Bull. I'm guessing he suffered some front wing damage. It doesn't really look like it currently. Oh, and there's contact there between Bully Nation and Fido Jr. Not too sure what happened there. Definitely contact. As if Fido Jr. has come out the better of the two, but I'm sure we'll see something of a steward's inquiry there come the end of the race. Bully Nation may have suffered some damage there. He seems to be struggling to get around those corners, maybe some front wing damage. Let's go to 50 Gent here, who is tracking down Hockey Iceman in the other Red Bull. It's not been the best start for the Red Bulls after such a successful qualifying. 50 make a move here. It's a long straight. He's got the inside line. So yeah, correctly decides to back out there. He's still got plenty of ERS to potentially make a move on the next straight. Coming up to turn 1. Trying to get as close as he can to him now in the remaining part of sector 3. Hopefully get a clean exit and then make that move. And Canucks Fan with a 3-second time penalty. That's very early on in this race. I think he could lose a couple of places from that. I think there are going to be a few people getting time penalties today though, especially through sector 1. Yeah, I think 50 Gent's far too far back there to make a move. Shudson moving now up into P8. Great driving from him. Mrs. Poem unfortunately has span. To the track there. Not too sure what the rules are on resets. I have to check that. Let's go to 50 Gent then as he tracks down Hockey Iceman. Dan MW pulling out a nice lead. He's over 3 seconds now clear of Hockey Iceman. That's really surprising. I expected him to be quicker unless he suffered some form of damage. He was just trying to run those mediums as long as he can before he has to change. The 50 Gent's going to make a move here. He's got the straight line pace. And 50 Gent up into P2. Now can he track down Dan MW in the Haas? The Canucks Fan also gaining on Hockey Iceman. I did wonder if he's got some form of wing damage. Maybe it was off that first corner. Maybe he Maybe he hit Dan MW, or Dan maybe have hit Hockey Iceman. I'm sure we'll find out. But Canucks fan now starting to track down Hockey Iceman. But we do have to remember, Canucks is on the soft tyres, and he's picked up another 3-second time penalty. After just 4 laps, that's 6 seconds already on time penalties. We'll go to Bully Nation as he tries to track down Slater here for P10. He's in the AlphaTauri. We'll stick with this battle for the time being. It's certainly the closest one. That alongside Mrs. Poem, trying to track down Wizard Arrow. I think Slater is now starting to pull clear again of Bully Nation, both running on medium compound tyres. 3-second time penalty for Bretty Boy, and as I said, I think there's going to be a lot of time penalties today. All of it pretty much is through that sector 1. Let's go to the battle between Bretty Boy and Fido Jr. You make the move down the outside here. There's a little bit of contact, but nothing major. Ooh, they nearly touch. Done very well there, though. I tell you what, that's some great battling between Bretty Boy and Fido Jr. and Hockey. Oh, and he's forced him slightly wide there. But I think he has given up the place. I think that's probably the correct thing to do there. Some good sportsmanship there shown by Fido Jr. and Bretty Boy moves himself up into P5. Hockey Iceman then picking up a 3-second time penalty and dropping further back from 50 Gent. But 50 Gent not able to catch today's race leader, Dan MW. And I must admit, I didn't give him a chance of winning this race at the beginning. I thought it was going to be a straight fight between 50 Gent and Hockey Iceman. So what a job he is doing currently. He's really pulling away. Over 4 seconds now clear of 50 Gent, and we're only 5 laps in to this fantastic Grand Prix. Let's go down to Fido Jr. and Bretty Boy. Bretty Boy seemingly moved out the way there. I wonder if there was more contact between the two of them. It's been a very intriguing battle between these two. We've got to remember Bretty Boy is running on the hard compound tyre, as well as Fido Jr. is running on the medium compound tyre, so Fido should be quicker during the beginning of this Grand Prix. But of course Bretty Boy has picked up that 3-second time penalty. And Canucks fan, now I think that's 9 seconds for him now. It's going to really cost him, 9 seconds. He's got to be careful. I'm not too sure what the limit is. I think it's about 30. Obviously we're only 5 laps in, remember, and he's already got 9 seconds. I think he's going to really struggle with that on the end of the race. I think Bretty Boy would have got a warning there as well if he did cut that corner. He's just trying really hard to track down Fido Jr. here in the McLaren. Johnson working his way up the grid. I tell you what, let's have a look. Let's see who's jumped up the most here. So we'll go through the position changes then. Dan MW started in P2, is up into P1 and doing a fantastic job. 50 Gent in P2, he jumps up from P3. Doing a good job as well. Hockey Iceman, I think he suffered with some sort of damage. Because he was rapid during qualifying. He was over half a second quicker than Dan MW, but he just cannot keep pace during this race. I wonder perhaps if maybe he's just struggling on the medium compound tyre. I know when I first started playing this game, I used to struggle with anything apart from the soft tyre, so maybe that's the situation here with Hockey Iceman. But hopefully he'll be able to hold on to P3. I think he will. Especially with Canucks fan and his 9 seconds worth of penalties. So Hockey Iceman dropping 2 places then. Canucks fan staying where he started in 4th place, but obviously there's 9 seconds worth of penalties will cost him at the end of the race. Fido Jr. Jumping up 4 places. He started P9, is now up into P5. Bretty Boy up 1 place into P6. Chudson up 1 place into P7. And Mrs. Poem jumping up 4 places up into P8. Wizard Arrow unfortunately dropping 3. Slater dropping 5, but of course he did have to pit early on. But I think that was the same with Bully Nation and Nick. I think they all had to pit. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, the bottom 3 have all pitted. So not doing too bad, especially Slater, not really doing too bad in terms of how far behind he is. He's only 11 seconds behind Wizard Arrow. Not too bad at the moment. We're on lap 7 then. Dan MW leading this race incredibly comfortably. Let's go on to him in the Haas. He's over 5 seconds now clear of 50 Gent in the Alfa Romeo. And 9 seconds clear of Hockey Iceman. What a great race he's having so far. Remember, we're only 7 laps in to this Grand Prix. So far we haven't seen any DNFs, which is really good. I think it's really only Canucks fan who's struggled with the penalty situation. Unfortunately for him, he's managed to gain himself 9 seconds worth of penalties, with the other drivers picking up penalties being Hockey Iceman with 3 seconds and Bretty Boy also with 3 seconds. Stingstad, I don't think that top 3 is going to alter, to be honest with you. Looks like Canucks fan is going into the pits. He's managed to get 8 laps out of those softs, which isn't too bad, and he picks up another 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Oh my goodness me, that's now 14 seconds for Canucks fan. That's really going to cost him come the end of the race. And surprisingly, putting on the medium tyres. I don't know, I think if he could have put on a set of hards, could he have run them 20 laps? I'm not too sure. But he definitely won't be able to run them mediums 20 laps, that's for sure. Interesting choice of tyre there from Canucks fan, that does surprise me. Mrs. Poem right behind Canucks fan now, on 7-lap-old hards. I'm sure they're just about bedded in now, so she should be able to catch Canucks fan, I think, here. And Bully Nation picking up a 3-second time penalty for the corner cutting there. He is down in P11. So far the fastest lap, and he's the only person to get into the 139s, has been set by our race leader, and that's Dan NW with a 139.464. Nobody's even come close to that sort of lap time. So what a drive, what a race he is having currently. I don't see anyone else winning unless he has some sort of major mistake in that Haas. I can't see anyone else catching him. I really can't. Surprises me. I genuinely thought that 50 Gent and Hockey Iceman would be the 2 people battling it out for the top spot, but what a drive so far from Dan. Absolutely superb in that house. Obviously UFRL running a joint constructors system, so Team Haas will be really happy to see him bring home all those points if he can keep hold of that P1. Okay, not too many battles going on right now. And the closest one is actually Wizard Arrow and Mrs. Poem. That's over a second in distance. So I don't think until the pit stops we're going to see too much going on. So let's ride on board with the current leader of this Grand Prix. Over 5 seconds clear and barely touching the surface of that ERS as well. It's like what it was. It's like watching 50 Gent from last week. Almost cruising at the moment, Dan MW. 50 Gent as well. Not pushing too hard, I don't think, currently. I do think Hockey Iceman has suffered some sort of damage here, unfortunately. I do think he'd be right up there otherwise. He was incredibly quick during qualifying. I should imagine he's bitterly disappointed with how things have gone for him so far, having dropped down 2 places from first position. Bretty Boy with another 3-second time penalty. I believe that's him now on 2-6. Let's just double check that. I think pretty sure it is. Yeah, he's on 6. Hockey Iceman 3. Canucks fan on 14 seconds. And Bully Nation is out of this Grand Prix. It's the first DNF. Will we see a safety car? Not too sure. I'm going to stick. I think it must have happened on. Yeah, it happened on the pit straight. Let's go to Dan MW and see if we can see this sort of wreckage. I don't think we can. No, I can't see anything. I'm not too sure what happened there to Bully Nation. But he is out of this Grand Prix and we are down to just 11 drivers. We have 17 laps remaining in this American Grand Prix. Oh, and Hockey Iceman, a bit of an incident there in the pits. Not too sure what happened there. Canucks fan now up to 17 seconds. I do wonder if he did suffer with the front wing. No, he's not changing his front wing. I think he's just struggling in general. Which is a real shame for him. He's going out on the hard tyres, which he'll run to the end now, I suspect. Let's go to Shudson. He's not too far behind Bretty Boy. And let's see if he can make a move. Shudson on 10-lap-old mediums, Bretty Boy on 10-lap-old hards, so you'd expect Bretty Boy to be the quicker of the two. But Shudson having a good race so far, currently up into P5. Hockey Iceman has pitted, so in theory it's probably going to be P6. Same with Canucks fan, but Canucks fan's going to have to pit again. There's no way he can run them mediums to the end. But obviously Canucks fan as well has got numerous time penalties. We'll stick with this one in the moment with the Ferrari tracking down the Aston Martin. I wouldn't be surprised to see Shudson pit soon as well on those mediums. Be the same as the top 3. They're all running on 11 and 10 lap older mediums as well. I suspect Bretty Boy will be able to get about 15 laps out of those, maybe 16, something along them lines. And Shudson into the pits then. Let's see what tyre he comes out on. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the hard compound. But let's see. Let's have a look. Let's see what he comes out on now. Yeah, straight move onto the hard tyre, which should see him through to the very end now with 16 laps remaining of this USA Grand Prix. This is Poem now up into P7. Wizard Arrow not too far behind her. Not quite in DRS range, but not far from it. If he can have a decent Sector 1, he could be right behind her. Doesn't look as if he's had an overly good... Oh no, he has had a pretty decent Sector 1. He's now in DRS zone. He's got plenty of ERS in the tank. In the battery, sorry, not the tank. Let's see if he can make a move on the next straight. I think he will be able to. Let's stick with this one as we go down the straight. Mrs. Poem moving into the middle of the track in a defensive style. DRS is open on Wizard Arrow. Can he make the move? It was obviously a very good exit by Mrs. Poem, and she manages to retain the position. She does really well there. The exit out of that last corner was superb to pull her away from Wizard Arrow. Surprised he wasn't able to get her there. And Dan MW is just coming out of the pits. So he was leading the race, and he will be after 50 Gent and Fido Jr. pit. And Hockey Iceman, unfortunately for him, picking up another 3-second time penalty. And that puts him onto 6 seconds worth of penalties. Dan just 3 seconds behind Fido Jr. and Shudson, the next person to pick up a 3-second time penalty. Does that now put him on to 6, or is that his first one? Not overly sure. Let's have a look. Penalties, that's his first one. He's now on to 3 seconds worth of penalties. Wizard Arrow still all over the back of Mrs. Poem. He will have to pit soon, surely, on those 12-lap old mediums. The earlier he pits, the better it will probably be for him. There's not really much point in battling. As he does need to pit, not really much point in making the overtaking move. You may as well pit now, put on some hards, and maybe get into some clear air. Set some real good lap times, and then potentially, when Mrs. Poem has to pit for what will be her medium compound tyre, he may well be in the lead. He may well be in front. And again, not able to catch Mrs. Poem down the straight. Mrs. Poem clearly running very, very fast. Setup. Fido Jr. diving into the pits, as does 50 Gent. 50 Gent coming out as expected on the hard compound tyre. Let's see how far back he is on Dan MW. I think he may be pitted a lap too late. Yeah, he's over 5 seconds. I think he lost about half a second there to Dan MW. So far, it's looking really, really good for Dan MW. Some great driving from him today. Let's go to Canucks Fan then, battling with Fido Jr. And Canucks Fan takes P3 from Fido Jr. But of course, Canucks Fan, fortunately for him, does have those time penalties, which will really cost him at the end of the race. Fido Jr. on a brand new set of hards. That's potentially why he didn't battle too much. He's just bedding them in. Canucks Fan on 6-lap old mediums. It's really good for him. And Hockey Iceman, another penalty for him. That's now him on 9 seconds worth of penalties, and maybe too late on the braking zone there from Fido Jr. But luckily for him, it didn't cost him too much. DRS is active here. I don't think he's going to be close enough here to make a move on Canucks Fan. Hockey Iceman also all over the back of Fido Jr. This is a great battle here between these three, involving the Red Bull, the McLaren and the Alpine. In theory though, looking at the time penalties, Fido Jr. is in a bit of a league of his own there. With Hockey Iceman 9 seconds worth of penalties, and Canucks Fan I believe was 17 seconds worth of penalties, and Hockey Iceman running quite wide there. I do think he has got some sort of damage, he must have, and Canucks Fan picking up another 3-second time penalty. Oh my goodness me, that must be really, really frustrating for him, especially as P3 could have potentially been on for him today. I'm not quite sure on his... he's always going to have to do a 2-stopper though, that's the only thing. Slater picking up his first penalty of the day, and that's 3 seconds added on to his final race time. He is currently in P8, running on 13-lap old mediums. I'm pretty sure he'll be the next one to pit alongside Nick, who's also running on 12-lap old mediums. So 50 Gent is actually starting to catch Dan MW. He's now just 4.5 seconds behind. He's pulled him up by a second. So clearly seems more happy on those hard compound tyres. Yeah, they're a lap newer as well, but 50 really starting to put the hammer down here. He's only just 4.3 seconds behind now. Would there be a late charge by the Alfa Romeo on the Haas driver? But be careful he doesn't push it too hard though, 50 Gent. He doesn't want to pick up any penalties. It's the same for Dan. There is still 13 laps to go, so there is every possibility that 4.5 seconds could be caught here. It'll be interesting. We'll go back to that one at the end. And the fastest lap set by 50 Gent, a 1:39.3. So he is on the rampage then. Seemingly much happier on those hard compound tyres. Fido Jr. all over the back of Canucks fan. P3 is really looking likely at the moment for Fido Jr. He's had a great race. Starting from P9, and Bretty Boy, 138.8, the first driver to break into the 138 barrier in today's race. Great lap time from him. He's up into P6 currently. Looks as if Mrs. Poem is going into the pits. She's on 15 lap old hards. I'm pretty sure she'll come out on a fresh set of mediums. Yes, she will. Slater going in. He's having his front wing replaced. That's really unfortunate for him, but he has got a nice fresh set of mediums. Let's go back to Fido Jr. He is all over the back of Canucks fan. Running very wide there. I tell you what, if he'd have got a clean exit there at P3, he would have been able to have jumped up into that quite comfortably, I would have thought. He's still got the pace on Canucks here, and he's down the inside. And that is a great move if he can make it stick here. Will there be contact? Oh, good driving from the pair of them there. The Alpine has got the inside line here. Fido's got to make sure he leaves room, and he does. It's great driving. So that is absolutely superb from Fido Jr. and Canucks fan. But Canucks fan and Hockey. Oh, there is contact there between the two of them. And he has now pushed Hockey Iceman wide. Just as I was praising Canucks fan there, that happened unfortunately. Yeah, that's unlucky. Hockey Iceman there, I think he was forced a little bit wide by Canucks. But, as things stand anyway, Hockey will at least take P4. Oh, and there is contact there. Bit of a dive bomb. That was a bit of a revenge tactic there, not too sure. Luckily both drivers seemingly come away unscathed. I think Hockey Iceman did give the position back. I think he realised what he did. I think he just missed his braking zone, but he did give the position back, so I don't think anything more will happen from that. But we'll stick with this battle for the time being. Or shall we drop? Actually, let's drop to Slater in his battle with Wizard Arrow in the sister Red Bull. Let's see what he can do here. Can he get a Hockey Iceman getting another 3-second time penalty? That's now 12, I believe, for him in his battle. And apologies for that. I think you probably just heard my dog bark. Yeah, you wouldn't think he was a golden retriever. You wouldn't think he was a he after that pathetic bark. So apologies for that. But we'll stick with Slater for the time being, as he's trying to catch Wizard Arrow for P9, which will be some vital points for the Red Bull team. If he can get up there and overtake him, he'll have to overtake him fast, as obviously he has got that 3-second time penalty as well. We'll stick with this one for the time being. Let's see if Slater can make the move then. DRS open, he's got plenty of ERS. He's going down the inside of Wizard Arrow. And I think he rightfully backs out of that one. Save your ERS and go again down the pit straight. But it did seem as if Wizard Arrow had a lot of pace down that straight. And he's still got a lot of battery life left as well. Canucks fan diving into the pits and going on to the medium compound tyre. So I thought he may have spanned there, but he has actually just gone into the pits and coming out in that medium compound tyre. I think if he'd have had a better strategy, maybe have started on either the hards or the mediums and hadn't picked up those penalty points, P3 could have really been on for him. And 50 Gent hasn't caught Dan any more than what he had. He's still 4.5 seconds behind him. Slater with that DRS has backed out, probably rightfully so. We'll stick with this one for the time being. I don't think anyone else is really battling the rest of the grid. I think most everyone else is sort of 3 or 4 seconds apart. Slater really struggling in Sector 1 there. He's really lost some ground on Wizard Arrow, and he's out of that DRS zone, which will please Wizard Arrow. Can he get back into it beforehand? I think he might. Yeah, he's going to get back into it. It was a good end to Sector 1. He can get a clean exit here. Yeah, he's got a clean exit. This could be it. Let's stick with this battle. DRS is open. He's got plenty of battery life, and he's going to make that move. A brilliant bit of overtaking from the Red Bull, and he's made it. Oh no, he's gone in far too deep. Far too deep, and Wizard Arrow retains P9 in the end with absolute ease. I thought Slater had that there. I really did. But Wizard Arrow keeping hold of P9 and stealing those vital points. And it's as King Luke said, hoping Dan keeps this up. Haas need all the points across all the tiers. King Luke asking who got pole. That was Hockey Iceman in the Red Bull. And Slater's going to make the move again here. Mrs. Poem just got the fastest lap of the race as well. But Slater this time, can he make the move stick? Yes, he can. It's a great move this time round. Early on the brakes after getting round Wizard Arrow, and he moves himself up into P9. He's now going to have to try and pull himself 3 seconds clear of Wizard Arrow to make sure that penalty doesn't cost him P9. I don't think he'll get any higher than that today. I think Mrs. Poem, after all the penalties are rounded up, will at least jump up into P7 because of the amount of penalties Canucksfan has got. Let's have a look. Let's see again who's jumped up the most positions. So Dan and 50 Gent both moving up 1 place. 50 Gent now just under 3 seconds behind Dan MW. Could we see a late run for first place? It'd be great if we could. It'd be a really good end to this fantastic Grand Prix. And Nick 1988 is out of this Grand Prix. He is the second driver to leave today. Again, as I was saying, let's quickly run through who's jumped up the most places. Dan MW, who's leading this Grand Prix by 3 seconds, has jumped up from P2 to P1. 50 Gent up from P3 to P2. Fido Jr., the highest riser today, and looking very likely to take coveted 3rd place and final step on the podium. He's jumped up a fantastic 6 places. You've got to remember there was only 12 drivers at the start, so he's moved up half the grid. A great job by him today in the McLaren. Let's hope he can see it through to the end. Hockey Iceman, unfortunately, he's had a bit of a poor race. I don't know if he suffered damage on the turn 1 of the first lap, to be honest, because he was very, very quick during qualifying. He was leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else. Over half a second, I think, in the end. Clear of Dan MW, and over half a second clear of 50 Gent. It's been really unfortunate for him. He's dropped down 3 places, but he's also got all those time penalties as well, which will see him fall further down the grid. Bretty Boy rising 2 places, but he has just added another 3-second time penalty. I think that now puts him on 9. Let's just double check. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, that puts him on 9 seconds worth of penalties. That won't make him drop a place at the moment, but will certainly hurt his chances of finishing in 4th. Shudson having a good race. He's jumped up by 2 places. He's in P6 for the Ferraris. Canucks fan in P7, but he does have a lot of penalties. He will drop further down the grid. Mrs. Poem up 4 places. She's currently running in P8. Slater in P9. And Wizard Arrow rounding out the top 10. And the last of our remaining drivers, he has dropped down 4 places as well. 50 Gent. He's just 2 seconds behind Dan MW. We could see a real grandstand finish to this Grand Prix. He is really pushing and looking quick on those hard compound tyres. It's a really good end to this race. I really hope so. Having said that, he now just dropped a little bit further back. He had a poor final sector, which is annoying for the viewers, annoying for the followers. We really want to see that battle for P1 between these 2 drivers. It's fair to say they've both been absolutely superb today, barely put a foot wrong. I don't think Dan MW is really pushing too hard. Both drivers have got to be careful that they don't pick up any penalties. That would really cost them. Can you imagine now if Dan picked up a 3-second time penalty? Could effectively end his race, so he's got to be careful. He's roughly around 2 and a bit seconds behind him at the end of the lap. 50, perhaps not had the best start to this lap. Sector 2, he's lost a bit of time here. I'm going to go away from it because every time I go back to it, it seems to get further apart, and every time I'm away from it, it gets closer. So we'll leave that battle for the time being. Let's go to Canucks fan in the Alpine, trying to track down Shudson here in the Ferrari. I feel sorry for Canucks fan. As I said earlier, I think if he'd have got his setup right, by setup I just mean tyres, to be fair. And without those penalties, I think he'd have been right up there, certainly battling for a podium. But it's definitely going to be those penalties, and I think the initial tyre choice is going to cost him today, which is really unfortunate. He's got the DRS here. Can he make the move on Shudson in the Ferrari? I don't think Shudson's going to battle too much. He's probably quite aware of the penalty situation for Canucks fan, and I think wisely moved out of the way, but a good overtaking move nonetheless by Canucks fan in the Alpine. And as I said, every time I move away from the battle between 50 Gent and Dan, it gets closer. It's now under 2 seconds with 5 laps remaining. I do wonder if Dan maybe have had a bit of a small twitch or spin or something, because it is very close now between these two. Just over a second. Just under a second and a half, so maybe in the next couple of laps 50 Gent could be in that all-important DRS zone, which I think he's gonna be, he's under a second now behind Dan MW, and we are gonna see a grandstand finish to this race. Have a look at their tyre situation here. So Dan and 50, is not really any difference between the two. 50 running a slightly newer set of hards. They're probably both just about embedded really, with 5 laps to go. See, I don't really want to stick with it because every time I stick with it they get further apart, but it is very close now. It's under half a second. We're going to stick with it. We're going to stick with it. He's all over the back of the Haas driver now. This is a real great late surge from 50 Gent. He's won both races he's been in so far. Can he make it 3 out of 3? He's going to have the DRS down that long straight. Does he make the move on this lap, or does he hold out a little bit longer? I don't know. This is going to be interesting. Both get clean exits. It looks as if Dan gets a slightly better exit, but of course 50 Gent is going to now have the DRS, and it is activated. I think he's going to be slightly too far back. He's going to be close enough. No. Wisely backs out there. I don't think he used any of his ERS there, though. I don't think Dan used too much either, so both storing it for the next lap or the lap after. What a great end to this race, everyone. What a great end. Oh no! 50 Gent picking up a 3-second time penalty. He is now definitely going to have to make the move on this next lap or so. Otherwise, there's no chance of him pulling 3 seconds clear of Dan MW. He's going to have to make the move in the next lap. He really is. That is awful news for 50 Gent. Great news for Dan MW. If Dan can now just keep him behind him, or even if he lets him go, he should be on for his first win. I believe it's his first win anyway. I'm 100% sure on that one. I'm sure someone will clear that up. Yeah, 50's going to have to make the move on the next straight, surely, if he's going to come out on the top step of this top step of the podium and winner of this race, and keep up his 100% win record in Tier 4. Let's see if they can both get a clean exit. They both did last time. I would say 50 got a slightly better exit there. Yeah, I think he's going to be able to make the move here. He's going to get right up behind him, and he should be able to make the move. I don't think Dan's going to battle it too much, because he knows that 50 has got that 3-second time penalty. Can he now pull 3 seconds clear of Dan MW with just 2 and a bit laps left remaining in this fantastic UFRL Tier 4 Grand Prix? He's just over half a second clear of Dan MW. I don't think he's going to make 3 seconds. I think Dan's too quick for that. Although he has struggled on this hard compound tyre, whereas 50's been absolutely flying on the hard compound side. But of course Dan is now going to have DRS down this straight, and he may be able to retake that first place. I think the only way 50 wins this race now is if Dan picks up a 3-second time penalty. I can't see it any other way. I'll be honest, I'm not going to check to see how many warnings Dan's had. It's not going to be fair on him. So we'll leave that. 50 still leading this Grand Prix, but he's not a second clear yet, so Dan will have the DRS going into that long straight. So depending on who gets the cleaner exit, I think will depend on who is in first place at the end of the straight. Let's see who gets the better exit. I would say Dan gets the better exit. He hasn't got too much ERS left, but he's probably got enough to make the move here on 50. But all he really does need to do is just stick behind him. He doesn't need to really battle him too much. Just needs to stick close to him, and he will be the winner of this Grand Prix, unless he picks up a penalty. And Rizalaro picking up a 10-second time penalty there. I'm not quite sure what that was for. Slater going into the pits now in P9. But he'll definitely come back out in P9. I don't think there'll be any problems there, as Wizardaro is over a minute behind Slater, so he won't lose a position there. Perhaps he's just going to try and push for that fastest lap. And Dan nearly a second behind 50. I don't think it's going to be enough here. Well, there could be traffic up ahead though. That might cause a few issues. Hopefully ghosting is on, but I know this game's had its issues in the past with ghosting. So we'll see if that causes any issues. I believe that's Slater up ahead. .50 is now out of that DRS zone. He's got to try and get another 2 and a bit seconds. And Slater wisely moving out of the way. Didn't really need to because of the ghosting scenario, but you can never be too sure in this game. And Dan MW is now 1.6 seconds behind 50 Gent. 50 Gent's got to find another 1.5 seconds, and he will be your winner today. this is good. This is too close to call now. One small little error from Dan could really cost him here. He's got too much ERS left. I mean, neither has 50. This is going to go right down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. Right down to the wire. Canucks fan picking up another 3-second time penalty. Let's have a quick run through on the penalty situation again. So yeah, 50 Gent at the moment with a 3-second time penalty. Hockey Iceman with 18 seconds worth of penalties. I don't think that's going to cost him 4th place. So I think he's just about got enough on Bretty Boy, who's currently in 5th place, but he does have a 12-second time penalty as well. A Canucks fan with 21 seconds worth of penalties. Shudson with 3 seconds worth of penalties. Mrs. Poem with no penalties. Slater with 3 seconds, and Wizard Arrow also with 10 seconds. And Slater picking up another 3-second time penalty, but that shouldn't really cost him in the end. So I think talking about driver of the day, I don't think you can look too much further than Dan MW. It's now 2 seconds the difference between the two. Unless there is a major mistake here by Dan MW, I can't see anything but a Dan MW win here. And it would be a fantastic win at that. 50 Gent certainly deserves a lot of credit for getting himself up into 1st place. But it is just that unfortunateness of that penalty. A 3-second time penalty, which is going to cost him his 3rd win in Tier 4 UFRL. But yeah, I would probably say, for me, it's got to be the top 3 drivers that have got to be in the driver of the day running. I think you could probably put Mrs. Poem in there as well for not picking up any penalties. But I think the top 3. We'll stick with Dan then, as he will, well, 50 Gent will cross as the race winner. But with that penalty ensued, Dan MW is your winner today for Team Haas. He takes 1st place, having started today in P2, and what a race by him. He has raced absolutely impeccably. No penalties today, and that is one of the reasons as to why he won UFRL Tier 4 USA Grand Prix today. An absolutely impeccable drive from him. 50 Gent, a great drive from him again. He takes P2 for the Alfa Romeos. And Fido Jr., what a race from him. Jumps up 6 places to take P3. Now we have to remember there was only 12 drivers, so to jump up by 6 places is an incredible achievement. Well done to him. A disappointing race for Hockey Iceman, who got a great pole position. But unfortunately for him, is now finishing in 4th place. But he did well to finish there, considering the amount of penalties he had at the end of the race. Bretty Boy taking an impressive P5. Shudson in P6. Canucks fan at the moment in P7, but I think he'll drop down to P8 with Mrs. Poem jumping up into P7. But we'll see in a minute. What a great race. Well done to everyone involved today. Yeah, Fido Jr. given the driver of the day by the game. I don't think they're too far wrong with that. I think he drove a fantastic race, jumping up by 6 places. A real good drive for him as he finishes off the podium. What a great day for Team Haas then, and some interesting dancing as he takes 1st place. What a result for them. 50 Gent unlucky in the end to just take P2, but a great drive from him again. Of course, Fido Jr. rounding out your podium today in UFRL Tier 4. We'll run through in a minute, but a great race from everyone today. So, Dan MW finishing in 1st place for Team Haas. 50 Gent in 2nd for the Alfa Romeos. Fido Jr. rounding out the podium. and taking third place for the McLarens. Hockey Iceman finishing in fourth for Red Bull, and Bretty Boy in fifth for Aston Martin. Shudson in sixth for the Ferrari, and Mrs. Poem finishing in seventh for the Alfa Romeo. It's been a good day for them. They've picked up some solid points. Canucks fan finishing in eighth. He could have done a lot better if it wasn't for those penalties. I feel sorry for him in that regards. Slater taking P9, but also getting that fastest lap, and getting that fastest lap by quite a clear distance. Wizard Arrow taking the P10. He was the last of our finishers today, with Nick and Bully Nation unfortunately not finishing the race. I've been King Kong. I've been your host today. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again as we do this for Tier 4 again next Thursday. But of course, please come back for Tiers 1, 2 and 3, which will be next Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. And of course, join Shudson, who will be hosting Saturday's UFRL Championship as well. Many thanks. Take care. Good night.